Church doesn't mean called out ones by Frank Viola. You've probably heard it before. Church happens wherever a Christian is. That's the slogan for the post-church view, which I dismantled back in 2009. Yet, the misguided idea that the church is the called out ones is still pervasive in the body of Christ, despite that scholars and theologians have discounted it for years. The word church that appears in most Bible versions is translated from the Greek word ecclesia. In the 1st century, Ecclesia did not mean called out ones. So why do people say that it did? Because that's what you get when you combine the prefix with the root word. But that's now how you discover how people used a word during a certain era. Because that's what you get when you combine the prefix with the root word. But that's now how you discover how people used a word during a certain era. First-rate scholar Robert Banks, in his seminal work Paul's Idea of Community, offers an irrefutable argument in the New Testament. Ecclesia means assembly or meeting. Rob is a longtime friend and a superb Greek scholar, and his work has been confirmed by countless other scholars. When it came to the town hall in Greek cities, people were called forth from their homes to assemble together. It wasn't the calling forth that made a group an ecclesia, it was the assembling. This explains why in Acts 19, the word ecclesia is used 3 times to refer to people in the marketplace who assembled. And these people were not Christians. See Acts 19:32, 39, 41. By the way, the WEB version translates ecclesia correctly, assembly. So as Banks, Dunn, and many others see footnote have pointed out, ecclesia just means an assembly or a meeting, gathering. That's how the word was used in the New Testament. The word is akin to our term Congress. Congress assembles. One individual is not Congress, but a member of Congress assembles with the other members. Since the early Christians gathered regularly in a given city, they were called the ecclesia of that city. And when they met, they assembled the parts of Jesus Christ by functioning, making him visible. I explain this in my book, Reimagining Church. Consequently, there is just as much biblical support to say I am the church, or you individual are the church, as there is to say the church is a religious building. The support is zero. By the way, I'm not suggesting at all that as Christians, we aren't called out of the world. If you've read Insurgents, Reclaiming the Gospel of the Kingdom, I argue that we are called to come out of the world system, but the word ecclesia doesn't have that meaning. Next week we'll take a look at the real apostolic succession. Notes 1. To define an ancient word by its root has been called the root fallacy. James Barr, The Semantics of Biblical Language, London, Oxford University, 1961, 100 ff. 2. During the New Testament era, the term ecclesia simply meant a gathering or assembly. Robert Banks, Paul's Idea of Community, Spirit and Culture in the Early House Churches, Grand Rapids, Me, Baker Academic, 2020, 25-28. James D.G. Dunn, Beginning from Jerusalem, Grand Rapids, Me, Eerdmans, 2009, 599-601. Jesus, Paul, and the Gospels, Grand Rapids, Me, Eerdmans, 2011, 166-167. Jarrah, Dictionary of Paul and His Letters, Downers Grove, IL, InterVarsity Press, 2009, 123-124. Douglas Mangum, ed. Assembly, Lexham Theological Wordbook, Bellingham, Washington, Lexham Press, 2014. Logos edition. An ecclesia was a meeting or assembly. It was used to describe a local congregation of Christians and never a building. J.T. Douglas and the Enhilia, eds. New Bible Dictionary, 2nd edition, Downers Grove, IL, InterVarsity Press, 1982. 205. According to Wayne Meeks, the term ecclesia was borrowed from the political assembly in Greek cities. Wayne Meeks, ed. Library of Early Christianity, Philadelphia, Westminster Press, 1987. 2 to 138. David De Silva agrees. Personal correspondence with De Silva. The 4th of August 23. See his book One Another. The New Testament Prescription for Transformation Seedbed. 2021 for a discussion on the importance of Christians gathering together in person. I could add many more sources, but this should suffice. For more, go to frankviola.org.